Okay, let's talk about something that is, well, it's definitely a little weird, but let's be honest, it's also surprisingly common. We're diving into the psychology behind why you might have erotic dreams about your coworkers. You know, that experience that can make you feel super awkward, a little confused, and ask one really, really big question.
Right? Why on earth does this happen? Is your subconscious trying to drop a massive hint? Is there a secret you didn't even know you were keeping from yourself? Well, we're going to get to the bottom of it, because the answer is almost certainly not what you think it is.
You know the feeling. You wake up, you remember that dream, and suddenly you have to face that exact person in the morning meeting. It is strange. But before you start questioning your entire professional life or avoiding eye contact at the coffee machine, there's something you really need to know. And can we all just take a collective sigh of relief at that? Phew. Seriously, the research is pretty clear on this. What feels like some shocking revelation from deep inside your mind is usually just your brain doing some pretty routine, if not very, very strange, psychological tidying up. So, here's the most important thing to do. You've got to totally reframe how you look at these dreams. Don't think of them as a literal diary entry. Think of them more like a symbolic movie, a weird indie film that your brain produced overnight using whatever people and props it had on hand. That's it, exactly. Your brain basically turns into a DJ at night. It just takes all the tracks from your day, the people you see all the time, the stress from that big project, the weird social vibe of the office, and it just starts remixing them into this wild, sometimes nonsensical new song. And your coworkers? They're just the most played tracks on the list. So to really get this, we kind of have to pull back the curtain and see how the brain actually builds these nightly movies. And just forget about logic. It's a lot more like an experimental art studio in there. Okay, now this idea of cast members is just fascinating. Your brain has to cast actors for its nightly scripts, right? And who's more readily available than the people you spend like 40 hours a week with? They're just convenient. Your boss, the person at the next desk, they're just familiar faces that your brain can easily plug into any role, whether it's the hero, the villain, or, yep, the romantic interest. And this is the part we just have to accept. The logic of our waking life just goes right out the window. Your dreaming brain is not trying to write a perfectly coherent screenplay. It's more like a painter, just throwing feelings and images and memories onto a canvas to see what sticks. It's pure, messy, wonderfully random creativity. This quote just nails it. The erotic part isn't really about desire itself. It's a cinematic choice. Your brain is the director, and it's using intimacy as a tool to crank up the emotional volume of a scene. It's trying to make you pay attention to a specific feeling or dynamic it's trying to figure out. It's just for dramatic effect. Okay, so if the intimate stuff is just for drama, what are the real feelings that are being disguised? This is where we get into the really interesting part, the symbolism of it all. I love how this slide just lays it all out. Over on the left, that's our first knee-jerk panicked reaction. Oh my gosh, I have a secret crush. But the psychological reality, over on the right, is so much richer and honestly way more interesting. It's usually about processing things like professional closeness or a hidden rivalry or just the complicated power structures at play in any job. So dreaming about your boss, for instance, might not be about them at all, but about your feelings towards authority in general. A steamy dream about a competitive colleague could just be your brain's dramatic way of working through that tension. The intimacy can even be a symbol for wanting to connect with a trait they have, like you admire their confidence or their creativity. I mean, let's face it, the workplace is full of unwritten rules and things you just can't say. We're constantly pushing down thoughts and feelings just to be professional. Dreams are the ultimate safe space. They're a consequence-free sandbox where your brain can finally play around with all those stressful ideas without any risk of you getting called into HR. And we also have to be honest, human attraction is just a weird, broad, complicated thing. Even if you have zero conscious interest in someone, your brain is still wired to pick up on things like charisma or a good sense of humor or intelligence. And in a dream, your brain can take that tiny little subconscious signal and just blow it up into a full-on blockbuster movie. All right, so we've taken a tour of the brain's bizarre film studio. We've learned its symbolic language. So what's the bottom line here? Let's tie this all together. This is it. This is what you need to remember next time you wake up feeling weird. Your coworkers, they're just convenient actors. The intimacy, it's almost always a metaphor for some other feeling like admiration or stress. The dream itself is just your brain's personal workshop for sorting through the day. It's really about neurology, not secret romance. And that's the final, most crucial piece of the puzzle. You shouldn't be analyzing the dream for clues about your love life. You should see it as this fascinating look into how your mind is mapping out all the relationships, the power dynamics, and the stresses of your job. It's a map of your social world, not a map of your heart. So the next time you have one of those weird dreams, about anyone really, instead of asking yourself, do I secretly want that? Try asking a different question. What feeling is my brain trying to turn up the volume on here? It completely shifts the perspective from anxiety to just plain curiosity. And it really makes you wonder, what complex social map is your brain going to be drawing for you tonight?